Episode 2 is over, and what an episode it was. The first 10 minutes alone were better than the entirety of episode 1. And we answered a very important question, a question that TV watchers have been wondering for years and years and years. What Stewie Griffin looked like naked. We're starting the episode with Jaime, one of my favorite characters. You know what? I'll go ahead and say it. My favorite character in the show. On trial, kinda. Trying to join the ranks at Winterfell. Dany grilling him. Sansa grilling him. The room quiet. But then, Brienne of Tarth jumps in the ring. Says, I believe in Jaime Lannister. I believe in this guy. Who, side note, I thought was Aaron Eckhart the entire time I watched Game of Thrones until last season. So she vouches for him. They let Jaime in. Beautiful moment. I think it's interesting that the whole time we've seen Jaime in Winterfell, he's this dressed down, gray, wearing smocks, basically. He's very different from the Golden Lion. He's not as narcissistic. He's not as arrogant. He's not wearing flashy clothes. He's not wearing huge swords and plated armor glistening. He's a different character. And I think this could be setting us up for the possibility of Jaime's resurrection. He right now is at that point in his career, a lot like Tiger Woods. He's in the Denny's, sleeping with Denny's waitresses part of his career, and he's getting real close to maybe winning the Masters. Right now, he's getting his windows busted in after getting a grand slam down at Denny's, if you know what I mean. Giggity. And we could be seeing the bottom part of his arc. A reverse arc, I guess. The episode as a whole, it was all about how people reacted to having death on their doorstep, both literally and figuratively. The entirety of the camp, and we'll call Winterfell the camp, the entirety of the camp knows what's at stake. They know that they have reached the edge. They've reached that place where everything is led up to this. They will fight the biggest battle of their life. And this bottle episode is basically what it was. And a bottle episode is an episode that happens pretty much in the same place, but pretty much the same people. Breaking Bad, the episode was called The Fly. That was their famous bottle episode. This was Game of Thrones. This is their bottle episode. And it gave us closure. It tied a lot of loose ends. It had a bunch of our favorite characters and kind of a crossover episode where no one was really mad at each other. It was a light. It had its moments of light, but it also had this impending doom kind of veil over the entire episode. We talk about the writing a lot here, or we did in the first episode. I think it's important to mention that the writing in this episode I thought was spectacular. It is not easy at all to have characters who you build for 6 seasons come together and to be able to independently tie their own stories up around each other. It's not easy. It's not easy to make. It's like doing a Sudoku puzzle, but way harder. So kudos to the writers for this episode. I thought it was fantastic. And this episode was a beautiful tribute to the characters that we've spent so long with leading into their final hour. Make no mistake about it. The next episode, the Battle at Winterfell, is going to be an absolute bloodbath. People are going to die, and by people I mean almost everybody. If you have a favorite character, scratch them off the list. We'll talk about who I think is going to die a little bit later in this episode, but now let's get back to the actual recap. Let's skip ahead to Dany and Sansa. So this conversation happens right after Dany and Tyrion, and this is a theme that we saw this whole episode where Tyrion's intelligence was questioned, his cleverness was questioned. His ability to make decisions was questioned. And that will come in a little bit later. But we go into another Dany-Sansa conversation. It may be Dany, but a lot of these conversations feel super forced. A lot of these conversations with Dany and Jon and the kind of lovey-dovey, I'm his girlfriend, but I'm also the queen. I want you to be my sister, and I want you to like me, and we could all be a family. It feels super forced. And I don't know if it's the actors or if it's just, if it's just not realistic, it's too fast, too rushed. I'm not sure. But every time we get into a scene that's focused around maybe it's because of the White Walkers and the impending doom, where it just seems super shallow. White Walkers are literally moonwalking their way over to Winterfell, and Dany is worried about getting her boyfriend's sister to like her. Not cutting it. But at the very end of their conversation, when Sansa asks, "What about Winterfell? What about us?" We're not going to bend the knee. We get another glimpse into Dany's thirst for power. Dany kind of looks at Sansa. Sansa's expecting her to say, "Y'all can just be free. Don't worry about it. You know, we're family. We're one. We're going to be one. So y'all can do your thing in Winterfell. I'm gonna do my thing over at King's Landing. This is not a big deal." She doesn't get that. She gets Dany, pulls away from her, and I believe that's the final attempt at Dany and Sansa kind of striking up any kind of relationship. I think Sansa now knows very well what Dany wants. I think Dany now knows very well what Sansa wants. I don't think there's any repair for this relationship. I think this is the last time we see them trying to work it out, and now it's just two separate paths, and we'll see what happens. Then we have Theon's entrance. Theon, get some damn sleep. This guy is looking awful. Theon, get some rest. Put something under your eyes. You're making me sick. Theon, this is his completion, is tying his loose ends. After everything he's done, he finally returns to Winterfell to defend Sansa after countless times of not defending Sansa. And this is pretty much him tying himself up. Or tying his, not him tying himself up Robin Williams style, but tying his story up. He is once ransacked Winterfell. Now he is standing with Bran and defending Bran in the biggest battle of them all. Theon, definitely going to die next episode, but I guess he could die kind of a hero, kind of a creepy, smelly, reeky, waterlogged kind of fella, but you know. Then we get the center scene of the entire episode. The warriors sitting around the campfire or around the fireplace talking about their old war stories or their heritage or where they're from, drinking wine, all before the battle. This was the guys and girls that will defend Winterfell all together, all from their different walks of life, all coming together to cheers and say, "Let's give them hell." This is that speech in the locker room. This is the scene where the football team is sitting in the locker room, all huddled in together, you know, quiet, their place of solemn, and getting ready to do battle as one. Tormund offered some comedic relief with a story about milk and giant's breasts and all kind of stuff. It got a little crazy. He was kind of playing the character of Fred and George in Harry Potter. There always has to be some comedic relief in these episodes or these times of intense darkness to give some kind of contrast. So Tormund was playing that card, and he played it very well. His scene, or his story with when he killed the Giant's Bane story, will live on forever and is his peak moment. So he stole that scene for sure. The look on everyone's face as he told the story, Jaime's in particular, fantastic acting, stole the episode for me. This leads to the most heartfelt moment of the episode, where Jaime and Brienne get into a situation where he knights her. And they're talking about how she's not a knight, and Jaime says, a knight can make someone else a knight. And so we have an impromptu ceremony here, where Brienne of Tarth becomes a knight by Jaime. And a lot of people keep talking about how there's a love thing going on between Jaime and Brienne. I don't think that's the case. I think that's kind of cutting it short. I think what's actually happening here is Jaime sees a better version of himself. Jaime sees a pure warrior, the best of her kind, with the best intentions, pure light in her heart. And that's what Jaime, I think, wishes he would have been or could have been. He sees himself in Brienne of Tarth. He sees the best Jaime Lannister in her. And that's why he pushes her. And that's why he wants her to succeed. It's not because he loves her. It's not because he lusts after her. It's because he is proud of her. Because he feels like, it's almost like he's proud of what he could have been. He sees what he could have been. And so he fights for that. And that's what I think their relationship is. Now, maybe she cares about him. It's hard to tell. Probably not. She probably looks at him like almost like a mentor, because I don't think she even really can have those feelings just in her, warrior state of mind. But a beautiful scene with Jaime knighting her. When I first saw the scene, I thought, this is to let the audience know who the top dog is. This is to let the audience know who the alpha dog is. Who's the best warrior at the camp? Who's the best swordsman at the camp? Who is the person that the White Walkers have to take down if they're going to do this thing? Besides, obviously, Jon Stark and all the main characters. Who is the biggest badass in the group of badasses? I think Jaime knighting Bree is the way for the writers of Game of Thrones to let you know that she is the top dog. And that if anyone's going to take Winterfell, they got to go through her. And I thought the whole scene was really well worked, really well done. And this was the centerpiece of the episode. To the rooftop we go. Arya and the Hound have a little scene. I always enjoy their scenes. I like the Hound as a character as well. He's a very complex little onion. And Arya and him talk, and they're a little bit more peaceful than usual. Everyone in the episode is. Remember, we're all fighting as one here. So even the Hound shares his wine. Arya takes a swig. Beautiful things. Then Beric walks up there, and he's talking to the Hound, and now it's Arya, Beric, and the Hound. This is important. This is important. This leads to the next scene. Arya has talked about nonstop how she doesn't fear death. She knows death. She knows his faces, and she's excited to see the next one. Her whole life up to this point, or at least after the faceless situation, has been about death. And she has surrendered herself to death. She basically serves death. She loves death. She is death for a lot of people. In the moment that she actually meets death, or is about to meet death, the moment where she's about to go to war and more than likely die, the moment where death is actually here, she decides that she doesn't want to be among people who are just concerned with death or just concerned with war, the cold, the lifeless. Beric and Hound, that's all they care about is war and fighting and killing, and that's it. They don't care if they live, they don't care if they die. She decides in that moment, I don't want to be with them anymore. I don't want to be surrounded with death. I don't want to be face to face with death. And what does she want? What does she decide to do? She wants to feel alive. Which leads us to the most controversial scene of the episode. The scene that had those people talking. The scene that had those people Googling Maisie Williams' age. Not that I did. I swear to God I didn't, so don't even think I did. To put it quite bluntly, Arya and Gendry make whoopee. They do the nasty. And I think it's interesting how many people had a problem with this. I really enjoyed the people who were like, Arya's like my little sister. Arya's like, she's like a little kid. She's just cute and innocent. What? You mean the same person who has spent the last 2 seasons literally cutting people's faces off and wearing them? The person who has a trail of blood wherever she walks because her pocket stuffed full of people's faces is leaking out? You mean that person who stabs people? The person who literally slit Littlefinger's throat like 3 episodes ago? That you think that's your little sister? That's the person that you're caring about? That's the person that you're worried about? The sweet little innocent angel? Her? With the faces? By the way, she's 22 in real life. 22. So we're all good. I mean, y'all are all good. All you freaks out there who keep watching it on repeat, y'all are all good. Not me. Okay? I did think it was interesting how they went about the scene. There's 2 ways that I thought that this scene could have been written. The first way, Arya and Gendry could have just been thrown into passion. They could have just immediately had a few sentences, however you want to say it, we'll probably die tomorrow, looking into each other's eyes, and then just go right at it. Just pure passion, just a fiery scene. The Baratheon Stark thing, it's been building up. They could have done that, and I think it would have been fine. But they went with this kind of hybrid where Arya asks how many women Gendry's been with, how long ago, how long it lasted. She was very formal about it, and she almost constructed a contract and told Gendry basically like, this is a business trade. This is, I want something, you want something, we're both about to die. Handshake agreement, let's just do this thing, and then we'll go about our merry way. And then when it came time to do it, it was very passionate, and we saw those flames of passion. So they kind of did both, and the way they did that, the way that Arya went about the business side of things, it has me thinking of a theory, and I just can't shake it. Now, I have to admit, a friend of mine first told me about this theory, and he really kind of got me thinking this. So kudos to Tom. He even tweeted it for first putting the seeds of this theory in my giant brain. I think Arya is dead. I think Arya is the waif. Hear me out. The scars in the scene we see when Arya is disrobing. I'm not showing it, okay? I don't need Chris Hansen knocking on my damn door.
Just kidding.
But the scars in the scene are not Arya's scars, I wouldn't think. We saw Arya get stabbed by the waif in the tummy, good old-fashioned stabs. The scars just don't match up. They don't match up at all. And I think it was one of those little misdirections where we're focused, or y'all are focused, I was not, on Arya disrobing. The scars were kind of in the background, and they were kind of secondary. The scars not matching up is incredibly important in my mind. Those scars are there for a reason, in that design for a reason. So let's take this all the way back to when Arya was with the Faceless One. Arya made a couple of boo-boos, and the Shawn Michaels lookalike who was training her ordered the waif to kill Arya. She had messed up twice. That was the limit. We were told that. There's no more whoopsie daisies after you mess up twice. So it was time for Arya to die. She had failed. The waif had been consistently kicking her ass over and over and over again. We saw that. Arya never got the upper hand on the waif. Never. So the waif stabs Arya multiple in the gut. Multiple times. This leads to a confrontation in a room. We see Arya knock out a candlelight. Room goes pitch black. We're supposed to believe this helps Arya because she's blind. Whatever. Then all we see is Arya coming out of that room. We don't see her kill the waif. We don't see the waif kill Arya. Pitch black. Arya then hangs the waif's face on the wall. And she tells Shawn Michaels, look, I'm Arya. What up? I'm leaving. And he just kind of lets her. Think about this. This guy just ordered for Arya to be killed. Arya shows up, allegedly with the face of his right-hand woman, and then says, I'm getting the hell out of here. And he just says, okie dokie smoky, good luck. Doesn't add up. So let's go more into that scene. When Shawn Michaels sees the blood trail, and Arya says, you told her to kill me. And he says something like, yes, but there you are, and here she is, or something like that. It's almost like, yes, I did order her to kill you, but now you're standing here. It's almost like he's surprised, but he's not surprised because he understands this transformation. It's not like he's answering a question from someone who thwarted his plans. And then he says, finally, a girl is no one. Why would she be no one if she just thwarted his lieutenant, hung her face on the wall, and now is leaving, heading back to her home? That sounds a whole lot like Arya Stark to me. It doesn't sound like no one. It sounds like very much someone. Now, it would be no one if the waif killed Arya and then chameleoned into Arya, because then she really is no one. Then she's just a puppet master or something. I think a lot really adds up to this with it just doesn't make sense for Arya to kill the waif, leave, and then the Faceless Ones just be done with her. That was such an important part of the show, and especially for her character development. It just seems so weird to never see them again. It would be a huge, huge twist for Arya to actually not be Arya. After seeing her in the show for this long, knowing Maisie Williams, she is a symbolic piece of this show. And for the entire time, for that to be the Waif, who we have seen virtually none of, heard virtually none of for however long since those episodes, would be some intense M. Night Shyamalan type stuff. There are obviously some wrinkles in this. There are obviously some problems with this. One being, I think Bran would see right through it. I don't think the Waif could be walking around Winterfell and Bran not know it. And I think Bran is probably the main reason that I'm not 100% certain it's the Waif. So let's keep on moving on. Jorah gets a sword from Sam. Jorah is dead. There you go. Davos feeds a little girl soup and sends her to the crypt. Davos is dead. There you go. And if I was writing it, I would have the little girl kill Davos. Something we heard the entire episode, and I mean the entire episode, is that the crypts are safe. The crypts are safe. The crypts are safe. Put them in the crypts are safe. Go down in the crypts are safe. I'm here to tell you, them crypts ain't safe. The crypts are getting messed up. The dead are rising. The crypts are going to be an absolute shit show down there, okay? The crypts are full of dead people. I ain't talking about the East Coast. I ain't talking about the West Coast. I'm talking about the crypts. There are dead people in there. The White Walkers, the Night King has a specific superpower to raise the dead. Oh, the dead are going to be raised. It's going to be a straight up thriller down there. So go ahead and understand that everybody that's in the crypt is getting whacked by the dead people. And finally, we see Jon and Dany have their conversation. It's incredibly important to understand when writing a show or telling a story in any medium, the decision you make as a storyteller is what the audience sees, what they hear, what they know, and what they don't know. That is very important. It's very important that we saw this conversation. It's very important that we saw the conversation between Dany and Jon. It's very important that we didn't see the conversation between Tyrion and Bran. We saw that there was a conversation. Tyrion began to ask Bran questions, but we didn't see the actual conversation. Why? Because what was said in that conversation is important. It's probably full of spoilers. And what does Tyrion say coming out of that conversation? He tells the rest of the people by the fireplace, I think we're going to live. I think we're going to survive. He learned something in that conversation with Bran, who probably is the most intellectual person on the show, that convinced him he will live. And throughout the entire episode, Tyrion was questioned about his what? Intellect and cleverness. Who's he go to? The all-knowing three-eyed raven. Has a sit-down conversation with. How long? We don't know. But we do know Bran said it's a long story. So we can presume it was a long-ass time. If you talk to smart people for a long-ass time, you will get smarter. You will learn things. That's why I tell people to watch my videos. So we can assume that Tyrion knows major details, major things. Let's go on to the Jon and Dany conversation. Huge conversation, huge moment, right? Jon and Dany having the conversation. Hey, I'm your nephew. You're my aunt. Oh, by the by, I'm the rightful heir to the Iron Throne. What up? For a conversation of this magnitude, it was awfully brief, wasn't it? It was only a few sentences. And we only really saw Dany's face. Why do you think we only saw Dany's face? Because it was imperative that we saw how she reacted. How did she react? Did she react like someone that said, oh man, if we're aunt and nephew, this is going to make this love thing really weird, but I really love you, what do we do? No. Her first reaction was straight up, oh my God, you're now the rightful heir. Rats. Hamburgers. This is another clue, more evidence that Dany is just obsessed with the power. Now, the next question, why did we have to see the conversation? Why have the conversation before the biggest battle in the show's history or in TV history? I'll tell you why. Because in this battle, Dany will be conflicted. Dany will have a moment in the battle where she will be able to virtually kill Jon Snow. Whether it's by leaving, whether it's by not helping, whether it's by putting him in a situation that's overly dangerous for no reason, she will be in a situation where she will be conflicted on if she should help him, the guy that she loves, or if she should kill him or get him killed or set him up for failure so that she can be the rightful heir. And that will be the moment right there where she is looking down the barrel of being the Mad Queen. And her decision right there is going to set the tone for the remaining 3 episodes. If she turns her back on Jon, if she decides, I want to be the queen, then she will be one of the final bosses of the series. Before we get into all my theories, we got to finish the actual episode. Then we see it's time. They're freaking here. Winter's here. Get your coats. Get your beanies. Now, did anyone else pick up on a little thing that was missing in this scene? They show the horses, they show the White Walkers with the beautiful hair, but they don't show the main man himself, the Night King, Big NK. Now, why would they not show him? Why would they not show the guy that's walking up to the front door, the big villain, walking up to the biggest battle? I'll tell you why. Because he isn't there. Who else did they not show? Pray tell. Who else did they not show this entire episode? Cersei. Interesting. Cersei was not shown. The Ice Dragon was not shown. The Night King was not shown. Euron wasn't shown. His fleet wasn't shown. I wonder why. JK, I don't wonder why, because I know why. The Night King is at King's Landing. The Night King has that fleet. They're Freezy Boys. They're popsicles. All right, they're the frozen navy. The dead can't go across water, they say. We've heard that a lot this show. The dead can't go across water. Well, the Night King's dragon can go across water, but that's just the Night King. That's just him. He's the only one that can ride it. Who can only ride dragons? Oh, Targaryens. Night King Targaryen confirmed. And the squid sigil on fire that the Night King uses looks a lot like the Targaryen sigil. Food for thought. The dead can't walk across water. The dead can't go across water. But what if they had a whole frozen navy? Well, where would they get a frozen navy? If the Night King and the dragon rolled on over to King's Landing while the rest of them are preoccupied with the other group, and he took over King's Landing, and he's got the fleet, he's got the boats, he's got 20,000 more people, and we heard all that stuff, all that detail at the very beginning of the episode when Jaime Lannister told Dany, Cersei has 20,000 people, Cersei has Euron's fleet, Cersei has all those people holed up at King's Landing waiting for the winner of this war to go over there. Well, now, that army that Cersei has is in Night Walker control. There was a lot to unpack in this episode. This episode set up a lot for episode 3. And we knew it was going to happen, but man, it set up a lot. And it kept a lot of huge plot points away from us. Not showing the Night King is just one of those things where I think is so obvious that he is not at that battle. He will be at King's Landing. He will be somewhere else. There's a ton of things that happen in the episode that could blow this whole thing wide open. The more I think about it, the more I could see Dany dying next episode. I could see Dany turning on Jon, going to flee with her dragons, and then her dragons either going back and saving Jon, or her dragons turning on Cersei or turning on Dany because she's turning on Jon. And then the dragons flame her ass and she dies right there as the Mad Queen, bathed in flame. I could see Arya not being Arya. I could see Arya being the Waif. I could also see Arya saving the Hound so that he could fight the Mountain. I feel like the Hound and the Mountain need to happen. Specifically if the Mountain, who's already dead by the way, is some big-ass White Walker glacier iceberg-looking thing that sank the Titanic. Imagine the Hound versus Frozen Mountain. That couldn't get any but Clegane Bowl in the snow. Then you have the people who are going to die. I would say guaranteed deaths. Brienne of Tarth, Grey Worm, Davos, Jorah, Podrick. Those are for sure dying. And again, it'd be so perfect if the girl who Davos tricked into going to the crypts And remember, the crypts are not safe. If that's who ended up killing Davos, that would be really interesting. Also, she had that mark on her face that reminded Davos of the girl who burned alive, Stannis' daughter. If a girl with a mark on her face kills Davos, it's like this big full circle on. He didn't save Shira, was her name? Shireen, I think. He didn't save Shireen. She died, and now basically her ghost kills him. That's how I would do it. And I'd film it graphic as hell. Now here comes the big part of the episode. Here's the part that I'm feeling pretty confident in. We already know the White Walkers are going to be raising people in the crypts. Snoop Dogg and all them. Who else are in the crypts at Winterfell? All the old kings. The old Starks. Maybe Ned Stark. I believe they will also be raised. They will also get raised. Here's the question. Will they fight for the Night King, and they have to be killed by the defenders, or will they fight against the White Walkers? And that's what I think is going to happen. I think Winterfell will be defended by the dead Starks, the old kings. Maybe even Ned Stark. Imagine if Ned Stark in White Walker form is out there fighting these damn freeze boys. Now you may ask why they would fight against the White Walkers if they were raised up by the Night King. The Starks have not done very well with death. We've got Benjen Stark, who's like a pseudo-dead guy walking around doing his thing. We've got, not in the show but in the books, Lady Stoneheart, Catelyn Stark, who was resurrected and she's her own thing. We've got Jon Snow, who, although he's not just strictly a Stark, he was raised from the dead. There's this kind of idea that maybe they don't work the same as everyone else. And we've always heard the things like there always must be a Stark in Winterfell. No one can take Winterfell. No king is fit to take Winterfell. Maybe even a Night King is unfit to take Winterfell. And there's the possibility that the White Walkers are controlled by the Night King. He has his powers to control them. What if Bran can control the Stark versions of the White Walkers? I think there's a lot of possibilities in play. I don't know exactly how they're going to do it, but my prediction is Winterfell is defended. It's on the brink of collapse and is defended. That final push is made by the old Starks, the old kings, and including Ned Stark. This episode is going to be absolutely insane. Episode 3 is going to be the episode. It's going to be the biggest episode in the history of the show, maybe the history of TV. I would almost guarantee it that when it's all said and done, this is the episode people talk about. Not the finale, not the fourth, not the fifth. This is the episode. So enjoy it. Also, this may be the last show that the nation, the world, watches together. Think about how now, everything is a seasonal dump. And I know a seasonal dump sounds like the combination of something involving gas station sushi and allergy season, but it's actually what I'm talking about is like on Netflix, you get a show, they put the whole season in one kind of thing. Oh, Stranger Things is on? Here's the entire season 2. Oh, the new season of Shameless? The entire season. Whereas Game of Thrones and Breaking Bad and shows like that, you sit down, have watch parties, and you actually watch. With the way that streaming and on-demand is, this may be the last show we ever get to do that. So enjoy it. There's going to be a lot of death. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that now. This is the mid-season finale. There's only 3 episodes after this. A character whose storyline is wrapped up, Grey Worm, Brienne, Jorah, Davos, Podrick, Gendry, people who don't have a direct use anymore, they're just not going to carry them for 3 more episodes. They are dead. They are going to die. I would guarantee Tormund, those guys are gone. They don't need them anymore. And Beric, it's over. If you do not have a direct impact on the throne or the people involving the throne, you're gone. I think Sam is safe because I think Sam is secretly the hero of the show. I think Sam will be exactly like Samwise in Lord of the Rings. I think he is the true hero. He's not the prince that was promised or anything, but he is the guy. I'm not so sure on the Hound dying. I'm not so sure on Jaime dying because I believe the Hound could be saved to fight the Mountain. And I believe that Jaime, I could see him dying, but I could also see him being spurned or being so, jolted by Brienne's death that he kind of gets his mojo back and he may be the prince that was promised. And Jaime may have a much larger role than we think. There's going to be some theories and all kinds of stuff coming out this week. We may do a video covering just theories. We may do a video covering just the people we think are going to die. There's a lot to predict. There's a lot happening. This recap has gone on for a long time, so thank you for sticking with me. I don't have a script, so God knows if I covered everything that I wanted to talk about after this episode. I wanted to go ahead and get this video filmed in the can as soon as possible because the episode was so impactful. There was so much going on. So if I rewatch it in the post and we miss something, we'll just do a separate video on it. Because fuck it, it's the last season. We can't hold anything. We can't hold anything out. We got to go all in the whole time. So thank you for watching this. And hopefully we'll make some more videos leading up until the battle. And my God, strap in, that battle's going to be nuts.